I hear ya. Go on now, take a seat. Mind the boards, they grown worse than pack ice when the wind is strong. I'll be with you in just a breath. Thank ye for answering the summons. Not the whole crew today, only those who know the feel of a ship. When something beneath the deck has shifted. Now don't mistake the calm for comfort. When the captain calls a small council instead of the whole deck, it ain't because the matter is light. It is because the issue is precise. I didn't call this council for pleasantries. I called it because silence has been doing work it was never meant to do. I didn't call this concept, I didn't call this council for gossip. I've sailed too long to steer by whispers. But when the same wind blows from many quarters, a captain checks the rigging. I've had recently quiet words brought to me in port from shopkeepers, chandlers, dock hands, not shouted, mind ye, not spiteful, merely observations, if you will. Not of crimes, but of tone, of sharp dealings, of tempers loosed too quick. And understand ye this, what happens among us never stays among us. A ship carries its reputation the way a man carries his shadow, whether he acknowledges it or not. When our name travels ahead of us in a way that makes folk flinch instead of nod, that becomes my concern. Not because ports must like us. Torah never promises that. But because how we are recognized matters. See, as crews of this ship and crews under my watch, we bear a double name in these waters. We are Jews, and we are also pirates. The world already knows what to expect of pirates. Men who take what they want, spill blood for sport, and vanish before their reckoning comes. So, when we step off the ship and into the stones of a foreign port, we are not unseen. We don't sneak around through the night unbeknownst to others. Every merchant watches our hands. Every innkeeper listens to our tone. And every soul asks whether we'll prove their stereotypes and their assumptions correct. And as Jews, the measure is heavier still. They see the crown upon our brow, the fringes beneath our coat, and they ask one question. Do these men live the truth they speak, or do they wear it as a costume? When the weight of who we are presses from all sides, a wise crew doesn't look to louder voices. We look to older maps. Crew, we don't gather like this to trade opinions or pass the time with old tales polished smooth by reputation. We gather because There be treasures in the Torah. There be treasures. There be jewels beyond our imagination. Not trinkets meant for display, but hard-earned truths meant to be carried, used, and lived. Some treasures comfort a man where he stands. Others demand he take a step he's been avoiding. And this one only reveals itself when silence has gone on too long. This week's portion is called Vayigash, not shouted across the deck, not whispered behind backs, near, because distance had stopped protecting and started destroying. Judah steps forward when silence feels safer. He speaks with humility, aye, but not weakness. Then Judah does the one thing that changes absolutely everything. That kind of courage don't appear out of nowhere. It shows up when a man finally admits that holding things together on the surface has begun to cost him underneath. There's something that I would like you to see. Every man who survives long enough learns how to wear a face that the world understands. There is no shame in that. But when the cracks begin to show, the question ain't how well the mask still fits. It's whether it's time to lay it down before it shatters in your very hands. And when a man feels that crack inside, it don't always turn inward. Sometimes it reaches for steel. Some think that strength in our lives lies in the swing of the blade. I won't pretend there aren't moments when every part of you wants to pull this blade free and run a man through. Insult, betrayal, disrespect. The urge comes quick, and it feels righteous when it arrives. But hear me clear. If strength were only emotion, every pirate would be a king. What separates us from butchers and brutes ain't the sharpness of our steel. It's whether we can leave it sheathed when the blood runs hot. Joseph had power enough to destroy his brothers. He had power enough to completely obliterate them. No witnesses, no consequence. And for everything they did to him, he had every right to do so. And yet, rather than pulling out the blade, he chose instead restraint. The choice saved a family. Restraint alone ain't enough, though. A man must also learn where he's standing when he judges another. From far off, men often look like monsters. From far off, rumors harden into truth. From far off, silence feels safe. Judah shortens the distance. Truth doesn't hide well up close. Truth is handled better when you walk bravely. And that is the moment Joseph stands in, when distance can no longer protect him and clarity can no longer be delayed. Joseph dressed Egyptian, spoke Egyptian, ruled Egyptian. Torah does not condemn survival, but there comes a moment when living divided costs more than it protects. And the mask falls, not by drama, but necessity. Not power, not revenge, relationship. That is wholeness. Torah shows us what happens when a man stops living divided. But it also sends voices after the story. Men who learned how to live whole when the world demanded compromise. When questions of identity grow heavy. When masks crack underneath the strain. And when survival tugs against truth, that's when a Sephardic voice matters most. So before we speak further of repair, before we talk of alignment and restraint, we turn to one of our own, a man who mapped the soul for those forced to live between worlds. They called him Ari the lion, not for bluster, not for spectacle, but because when he spoke, the hidden trembled. Born in Jerusalem, a child of Sephardic exile, formed in Egypt among the wisdom of the Torah and the silence of inner devotion, and revealed the world of Zaphat, that mountain port where broken souls came ashore after the wreckage of Spain. He taught only a handful of years, yet in that short span, he reshaped how Israel understood exile, fracture, and repair. The Ari taught that the world itself is cracked, not because Hashem failed, but because the light was too true, too vast, too holy for vessels that were rushed into being. Light poured in, the vessels shattered, sparks scattered into every corner of creation, and ever since, humanity has been sailing through the debris. Tikkun, repair, does not come from louder prayer alone, nor from louder faith, nor from shouting doctrine across the deck. Repair comes from alignment, from doing the right act at the right moment with the right intention. Joseph aligns the interworld. Judah steps forward and makes action possible. For wisdom that stays trapped in the head don't mend a ship. It must pass through the hands, shape the habits, and set the direction of the voyage. A lion does not roar for show. When a lion's voice is heard, every soul that hears it must decide what it will do next. I called this counsel not for shame. I called this counsel for direction. If habits must change, change them. If words are owed, speak them. If silence has lingered too long, End the silence. We are not pirates ruled by appetite. We sail under Torah. And Torah demands that our life in port match our tongue on deck. Direction's been set. Now comes the quieter work, the choice each sailor makes once the council ends. So I'll ask you plain, crew, where has silence stopped serving? And what step must now be taken? That, me lads, that is Vayigash. That's courage. That is leadership. But Torah never ends a chapter without reminding us the sea keeps moving. Next voyage, Jacob leaves the land of promise and sets foot in England. He sets foot in Egypt, not England. It's been a long day. Excuse the oddity of my pontification. Jacob leaves the land of promise and sets foot in Egypt, not in chains, but not in freedom either. We'll speak of what it means to trust Hashem for provision in exile, to eat at foreign tables without forgetting who you are. And the Sephardic voice who'll guide us next week is Rabbi Abraham Ibn Ezra, a wanderer, a poet, a master of Torah's plain truth. He owned no palace, commanded no army, and leaned on to no throne for protection. He crossed lands hungry, uncertain, and exposed, and yet taught that Hashem's providence can be trusted even when life offers no guarantees. A man who proved that faith don't need power to endure, only clarity, humility, and courage. So please take the words that we have discussed and share them with the other crew. Encourage them. Because I truly appreciate all who has sailing with us. But there comes a point where you need to decide. Will you be living for yourself, or are you living in obedience to Torah? If what I have been saying strikes a chord with you, if the words that I have spoken causes beautiful music in your head, please like, please subscribe, and please share. May the wind in your sails be filled with Hashem's righteousness, and may the evil urge plunge straight to Davy Jones's locker. Avast, me hearties. Shalom, and we'll see you next voyage.